There exists a level of discipline so absolute, so unshakable, that people start looking at you with a hint of fear. Today, you're about to discover how to reach it and what it'll cost you. You've seen these people. They never seem to break. They wake up at the same relentless hour, day after day, executing the same actions with unmatched resolve. While everyone else flames out by week 3, they're just getting started. While others craft excuses, they're exactly where they promised they'd be. What do people whisper about them? That's not normal. That's obsessive. That's scary. There's an ancient system forged in the silent discipline of Zen monasteries, designed to create exactly this kind of terrifying consistency. It's called Gyoji, the practice that exists for itself. Once you understand its mechanics, you'll never quit a goal again. But be warned, to reach this state, you must be willing to destroy the part of yourself you didn't even know was holding you back. This is the story of Liang, a talented software engineer. Liang was brilliant. His career was skyrocketing, but he was plagued by one single paralyzing weakness. He couldn't stick to a schedule for more than 2 weeks. The gym membership would fire him up for a month or 2, then collect dust. Meditation? A week tops. He'd buy stacks of books, read the first few pages with focus. Then they'd become coasters. The cycle was painfully predictable. Monday, peak motivation. He was a new man. Wednesday, the internal negotiations begin. Maybe just a short session today. Friday, total and complete surrender. Sunday, the solemn vow to start again. This time for real. Liang tried everything. Habit tracking apps with their cheerful notifications, elaborate reward systems, even accountability partners who eventually got tired of his cycles of failure. Nothing worked. He believed he was fighting laziness, but he was wrong. He was fighting the fundamental architecture of the human brain. And then one day, he discovered how Zen monks could meditate every single day for decades, never missing one. The answer wasn't in willpower. It was something much deeper and much more terrifying. In the sacred halls of Zen temples, there's a principle that seems deceptively simple but transforms the very nature of commitment. It's Gyoji, unbroken, continuous practice. The key phrase is unbroken. Do you truly understand what that means? Since the 10th century, the bell at Heiji Temple has rung at exactly 3:30 a.m. every single day. Since the 12th century, monks rise every single day. Not 3:25, not 3:35, exactly 3:30. You know what never happens at that temple? A monk lying in bed thinking, I'll just skip today. That thought doesn't exist in their reality. Why? Because they understand a fundamental truth you don't. Your brain categorizes all commitments into 2 types, reversible and irreversible. Reversible commitments are fertile ground for self-negotiation. Irreversible commitments just get done. When a monk takes vows in front of the entire community, he's not making a promise. He's forming a new identity. He doesn't say, I'll try to meditate. He declares, I'm a meditator. From that moment on, the debate ends. Neuroscientists discovered that when a person publicly declares their commitment, an ancient, primal part of their brain perceives failure as a direct threat to survival. In the past, when we lived in tribes, losing status meant exile, and exile meant death. Your brain still operates on this ancient code. This is exactly what Liang did. He stopped whispering quiet promises to himself in the dark. He made a public declaration. He took out a sheet of paper and wrote in bold, clear letters, I'm a person who meditates for 20 minutes every morning at 5 a.m. for 90 days straight. He signed it, and he posted it to social media. Liang sent it to his colleagues, friends, family. His partner said, You're being too intense. Colleagues smirked. Too serious. He'll never last. Perfect. Each one of them became fuel for his fire. Every morning, when the temptation to quit gnawed at him, Liang imagined looking each of them in the eyes and admitting he'd broken his word again. The first real test came on day 3. The alarm blared at 5 a.m. The brain immediately whispered, You're exhausted. One day won't matter. But this time, something new pushed back. The thought of publicly announcing his failure was physically unbearable. The public promise made quitting more painful than continuing. But the real war was just beginning. Even with the powerful force of social accountability, Liang's mornings were brutal battles. His body didn't care about reputation. It craved sleep. The public declaration silenced the mental negotiations, but it didn't silence his biology. That's when he learned the monk's second rule: non-negotiable hours. Think about how much energy you waste every day on the same stupid question. When will I do this? Before breakfast or after? Morning or evening? These micro-decisions burn through precious glucose reserves your brain needs to actually perform the task. You're spending fuel arguing about when to start the car instead of just driving. Liang chose 5 a.m. not because he was a morning person, but because the world is silent at that hour. No pinging emails, no passing notifications, no distractions, no excuses. The fixed time wasn't chosen to optimize his schedule. It was chosen to eliminate every possible reason to do it later. The first week was hell. His body rebelled. This is normal. Your body runs on established patterns, and you're forcing it, against its will, to carve new ones. By week 2, something shifted. He started waking up a minute or two before the alarm. On day 14, his feet touched the cold floor before his conscious mind even registered the decision. No thought, no deliberation, just movement. Most people miss this crucial point. The fixed time isn't about finding a convenient slot in your calendar. It's about surgically removing the possibility of choice. When you perform an action at different times, you have to decide whether to do it every single time. When the time is fixed, the brain stops arguing. The decision has already been made. But soon his clever brain found a new loophole. The schedule was fixed, but the activities weren't. Some mornings it was meditation, sometimes reading, sometimes push-ups. His brain found a new negotiating tactic. Not when, but what. The 5 a.m. slot was stable, but the practice itself had descended into chaos. He'd solved half the equation, but the system was still vulnerable. This is where the monk's teaching on form becomes radical. You must do the exact same thing every day until the mind completely and utterly surrenders. Think variety saves you from boredom? You're wrong. Variety is the assassin of consistency. Every time you change the action, your brain is forced to make dozens of micro-decisions. Push-ups or a run? Which book to read? How long do I meditate today? Each decision is a tiny crack in your fortress, a loophole for old habits to slip back in. Liang sealed every crack. 20 push-ups, 10 minutes meditation, 10 minutes reading. Same order, same duration, same timer. 90 days straight. Friends called him a robot. His partner called him boring. Perfect. By week 3, his mind screamed, "This is idiotic. You're not a machine." By week 4, something broke. It wasn't his discipline. It was the internal noise. The voice of resistance went quiet. By week 6, he was halfway through his program without even realizing he'd begun. The practice was executing itself. Here's what people don't understand. True consistency isn't eternal willpower. It's repeating an action until willpower evaporates. The body absorbs the sequence the way a dancer learns a complex move until it becomes muscle memory. You no longer decide. You just do. On day 35, Liang got sick. On day 40, he had to fly across the country for work. This was the death zone, the exact point where he'd always surrendered before. Sick day, flight, legitimate exception. But here's where everyone quits, because they wait for perfect conditions. And perfect conditions don't exist. The masters understood this. The practice must continue without a single break, because breaks are where old patterns resurrect. The all or nothing mentality has destroyed more ambitions than laziness ever did. You tell yourself, if I can't do my full 20 minutes, I won't do it at all. That's how breaks are born. And breaks are the door through which your old, weaker self returns. Look at any elite athlete. They have rest days, but that rest is a planned, calculated part of their forward motion. It's designed for recovery. Skipping a workout because you don't feel like it isn't rest, it's retreat. A river doesn't stop flowing. During a drought, it may become a tiny trickle, but it still moves forward. The moment it stops, it's no longer a river. It's just a stagnant memory of what it once was. Your practice is the same. The moment there's a break, you stop being a practitioner. You're just someone who used to practice. On day 40, Leon was in an airport at 4 a.m., doing push-ups in a bathroom stall. People gave him strange looks. Perfect. He meditated in the back of taxi. He read his pages on the plane during takeoff. Nothing was perfect, but everything moved in one single direction. This is Gyoji, the practice that continues for itself. People started to notice. Colleagues remarked that he'd changed. Friends said he was obsessed. Someone even told him that kind of discipline is unhealthy. That's when he knew. When people around you say you're too strict, you're finally on the right path. Normal people get normal results. You're not trying to be normal. You're trying to be unbreakable. But there's one final element no one prepares you for. Your kid gets sick. Your car breaks down. You're stuck late at work. These situations destroy your consistency because you haven't pre-decided what you'll do. When the obstacle is unexpected, you make the decision in a state of stress, and you almost always choose the path of least resistance. Zen monasteries survive for centuries without missing a single day of practice. Not through earthquakes, wars, or famines. How? Because decisions are made before the crisis arrives. If the meditation hall floods, they meditate in the dining hall. If the dining hall burns, they meditate in the courtyard. There's no discussion. The bell rings. The action is taken. Liang sat down and listed every situation that had ever broken his habits before. Then he scripted a response for each one. If it's raining, push-ups in the garage. If guests stay overnight, quiet routine in the bathroom. If he's hungover, which was no longer a real threat, but he prepared for it anyway, 2 push-ups, 1 minute of meditation, 1 page of reading. Minimum effective dose. For every potential crisis, a protocol was pre-written. If X happens, I do Y. No thinking, only execution. This system doesn't just maintain consistency. It liberates your brain from the constant burden of decision-making. The mind learns that no matter what happens, the practice will continue. And that certainty rewires the very nervous system itself, building a deep sense of confidence, calm, and power. By day 70, the practice had become completely automatic. He'd wake up and not remember doing the push-ups. His body just acted. On day 90, he completed his personal experiment, 3 months with 0 misses, and realized he was no longer the same person. Friends told him, "Your discipline is scary." He smiled. Perfect. When your discipline starts making others uncomfortable, that means you're finally operating at the level you were meant to. By your very existence, you're living proof that what they call impossible is actually just inconvenient. That's why they'll call you a fanatic. That's why they'll advise you to find balance. They want you to slow down so their own stagnation isn't so painful. But you're not doing this for them. You're doing this because you've finally understood the truth. Consistency isn't an action you perform. It's an identity you adopt. Are you ready for that level of transformation? This isn't about discipline. This is about death and rebirth. The death of your inconsistent, negotiable self and the birth of an indestructible one. The Gyoji system won't make you better. It will make you different. It will make you someone they call abnormal. And when you hear those words, you'll finally understand. You're exactly where you always wanted to be.